The village of Gallows End had a lot of things. Rolling hills, gnarled old trees, an unnerving number of full moons, and one antique wooden clock tower in the middle of town. Built by an unknown woodworker sometime before the Black Death, its origins lost to history, the clock was all that remained of Gallows End's medieval past. Its dark, almost black wood was so intricately carved that every hour it told not just the time, but a story from local folklore. Its bronze hands moved with unnatural smoothness, keeping perfect time for over 600 years. And it was cursed. Every year on the night of the harvest moon, when the clock struck midnight, someone in the village would die. But the person who died was never an innocent. It was always someone who deserved it, someone who had committed crimes against the townspeople, a criminal, an abuser, a liar. The villagers believed the clock was punishing these people, but really it was feeding off their guilt. For centuries, it had been whispering to them in the night, telling them that they could confess their sins to the wood and be forgiven. Some took this as religious advice and did just that, pouring their darkest secrets into the listening wood. Others tried to bribe it with silver or threaten it with an axe, trying to buy a few more minutes or hours off the clock. None of it worked. Once the clock started ticking, there was no escape. This year, the clock claimed yet another victim. Old Man Hemlock, who had abused his granddaughter, had tried to bribe the clock with a bag of gold. He hadn't been very good at it, though, and now he was dead. So when a new school teacher moved into town, the villagers were quick to warn them about the clock. They told them to stay away from it, especially tonight, when the clock would be casting its shadow over the village square. But the teacher wasn't afraid. After all, what was there to fear? They moved into Hemlock's old house that same day, right across from the clock. As soon as the sun went down, the teacher could hear the old wood creaking. At first, it was just the wind, they told themselves. But then they heard a soft tick. They went to investigate. Behind one of the wall panels, they saw the outline of clock gears. But as they traced the lines, they realized the clock wasn't attached to any sort of mechanism. There were no weights or pendulums. And if this was a magical clock, where was the magic going? To find out, the teacher pulled the panel away from the wall, revealing a hollow space behind it. Inside, they found a small velvet pouch containing a tarnished silver key. When they inserted it into the nearest keyhole, the clock sprang to life, its bronze hands spinning wildly, the stories it told turning from folklore to personal tales of love, loss, joy, and sorrow. The teacher continued exploring, finding more keyholes, each one opening up another part of the house, the clock, and the village to them. When they finally reached the last keyhole, hidden behind an old tapestry, they felt a cold breeze on their neck. What they didn't see was the cloaked figure standing in the shadows behind them, their face obscured by the hood, their eyes glowing an unnatural green in the darkness. This was the spirit of the clock, a malevolent entity that had possessed the old wood when it was first created. For centuries, it had used the confessions of sinners as fuel, their fears and regrets winding its way into the wood's intricate carvings. With each new story, it grew stronger, its power waxing and waning with the phases of the moon. The harvest moon was its strongest, which was why every year it claimed a soul on the night of its full glory. But the teacher had discovered its secret, and now it wanted to silence them. As the clock chimed midnight, the spirit lunged, its claws extended, ready to snuff out their life and add their essence to its collection. But the teacher was prepared. Reaching behind their back, they pulled out a length of rope and tied it to the nearest beam, creating a makeshift hangman's noose. The spirit recoiled in surprise. It hadn't been expecting resistance, especially not from a mere mortal. But the teacher was ready for it. They had studied the old clock stories after all, and they knew one thing about spirits. They hate being trapped. With a flick of their wrist, the teacher tightened the rope around the clock's neck, cutting off its supply of air. The clock sputtered, its hands slowing to a stop. The stories it told turned from joyous to panicked, pleading for mercy. But the teacher held firm, watching with grim satisfaction as the spirit's form began to fade. Just before it disappeared completely, it promised revenge, vowing to return when the moon was full again. But until then, the teacher would be safe. The next morning, the villagers came to check on their new neighbor, bringing apologies and ale as gifts. The teacher accepted both, knowing they would need the support of the town if the spirit of the clock ever returned. As for the clock, well, they simply wound it back up and let it keep telling its stories, now with a new chapter added to its mysterious past.